I think things are moving in the right direction.
House Republicans say they're on track to meet a Memorial Day deadline for passage of President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, which would put into law much of the president's agenda, including making his 2017 tax cuts permanent.
We're very optimistic about the path ahead. We got a few more details to work out, but we're going to work them out.
But a major sticking point has emerged. Republicans in districts with higher state and local taxes want increased deductions to offset those taxes.
We know that if that number is ultimately offered us, we'll say yes, and we'll get the heck out of the room.
And it's causing a rift with their colleagues who are prioritizing cost cutting.
They're asking for something that's very costly, but yet they're not willing to find the savings. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Another major point of contention, possible cuts to Medicare and Medicaid.
They want to kill the sick.
Tensions flared on Capitol Hill, the Energy and Commerce Committee, which oversees Medicaid spending and is responsible for finding $880 billion in government spending cuts. Republicans claim they'll find the money through eliminating waste and fraud, but Democrats say that's not realistic and services will be impacted.
These devastating cuts will make Americans, particularly children, sicker, hungrier, and poorer.
GOP leadership says a vote is likely to happen next week, and if it does pass in the House, it faces an uncertain fate in the Senate. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for the last 5 months.
Another lavish welcome for President Trump, arriving to the United Arab Emirates, greeted by the president for his third and final stop on his Middle East tour.
This has been an amazing trip. We've raised trillions of dollars of investment for our country, and we're dealing with really good people that have been abandoned in a way by our country and by the United States.
For the president, diplomacy took a back seat to drumming up business. This week, Qatar signed a deal with Boeing to purchase up to 210 jets, a $96 billion investment. And business leaders in Saudi Arabia signed $600 billion worth in big tech deals.
The president's been very focused on how do we get more business coming to the United States, more investment from other countries into the United States.
UAE officials are adding to the economic wins Thursday, committing to a 10-year, $1.4 trillion investment in the U.S. through AI, energy, and aluminum production. But critics say the president is the main one to benefit from these deals.
Every single nation is doing personal business with Donald Trump and Donald Trump's companies. The Saudis have been a major investor in his real estate company. The Qataris are buying him a plane. The Emiratis are the biggest investor in his cryptocurrency. So he's there on his behalf. He's there in order to profit off of U.S. foreign policy.
In addition to securing economic investments, the president tried to use his clout to bring more stability to the Middle East, urging Qatar and the Saudis to convince Iran to abandon its nuclear program and foster better relations with the West. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Changes to close the gap. Our political reporter Greg Lee is tracking the governor's moves, and he's live in our newsroom. Hi, Greg.
Gossett, good afternoon to you. The governor still taking questions about his revised budget proposal for the 25-26 fiscal year at this hour, and a change to one of his signature policies. Here's the bottom line. After seeing a mostly balanced budget in January, fortunes have changed, and the state now faces a nearly $12 billion budget deficit. That's about 5% of the overall budget, and the governor blaming the shortfall in part on President Trump.
California is under assault. The United States of America, in many respects, is under assault because we have a president that's been reckless in terms of assaulting those growth engines. Has created a climate of deep uncertainty and certainly has California in his sights. Best to describe this as a Trump slump all across the United States. It's reflected in adjustments by every independent economist, by leading banks.
The governor there pointing to the major swings in the market after the president announced major tariffs on U.S. trading partners, and his ongoing negotiations have created uncertainty for investors as well as small businesses. Newsom saying California, the fourth largest economy in the world, is already seeing major impacts from the tariffs on the state's big partners like China, Mexico, and Canada. Governor Newsom and his economic team says all this will result in a $16 billion reduction to state revenues Newsom is presenting the legislature with a $322 billion total budget that is seeing hits from the U.S. trade war, the destructive L.A. wildfires, and rising health care costs.
This is a tough budget in that respect. So I've been very prideful of the expansions and the progress we've made. But you have to level set with folks. The utilization, we now have 1.6 million people just on the NDOC side, which is about 10.7% of the total. It's about 14.9 million people that receive Medi-Cal in the state. Significantly larger number than we anticipated.
So how does he close the gap? The governor is proposing changes to the policy he launched last year that provides free health care to low-income, undocumented immigrants in the state. He is now suggesting a freeze on new adult applications through the program as early as January 1st. Additionally, he wants to charge a $100 monthly premium for undocumented adults in the program starting in 2027. He estimates